Hey guys, so in today's video, I want to talk about financial independence. Now, you might first be thinking, what on earth is this girl talking about? Why would we be talking about financial independence when there is so much going on, especially when it comes to the economy? Particularly if you are from the UK, I'm not going to lie to you, like everything just feels like a mess right now. But the reason why I wanted to talk about this now is because I think it's still one of the most important things we should be working towards, and I want to share why I think we should be doing it, what even is financial independence in the first place, and how to get started even with, you know, so much going on. So grab your tea, I think we're gonna have a nice casual chat and let's talk about all things financial independence. So if you've been subscribed to my channel for a while, you would know that one of our biggest goals is to work towards financial independence. Like in terms of our finances, that is something that we have been working towards for a few years now. And it's not just, you know, as soon as I got married that I started working towards financial independence. I actually started this journey from about 2018 when I was in about £16,000 worth of debt. So this is something that I have been looking at for the past like 4 years. Now, financial independence to me personally basically means that you have assets, so things that put money in your pocket, paying for your expenses, so you don't have to trade time for money. And what I mean by this is you may have investments paying for your expenses, which means that you don't technically have to go out to work just to pay for your expenses. So you don't have to work just to pay bills. Now, in terms of figuring out, you know, how you can reach financial independence, I usually think there are a couple of ways you can do that. So the first way is through the passive income or cash flow route. And what I mean by this is if you have investments that pay you an income and it exceeds your expenses, then essentially you are financially independent. So for example, let's say that my expenses come to about £2,000 or dollars a month. If I'm able to have investments that basically pay me over £2,000 or dollars a month, well, essentially that may mean that I am financially independent. So that is the first route. The second way you can think about it is by using something called the 4% withdrawal method. And what that means is essentially a lot of experts will say that you need about 25 times your annual expenses to be financially independent. So again, if we use my previous example, if your expenses come to about £2,000 or dollars a month, that means that your annual expenses are going to be about £24,000 or dollars a month. And in order to be financially independent, you will need about 25 times your annual expenses. So 25 times £24,000 or dollars, which comes to around £600,000 or dollars. So once you have enough investments to reach 600,000, you are essentially financially independent, because with that method, what they're basically saying, if you were to withdraw about 4% of that each year, you will be able to live on your expenses essentially. So 600,000 times 4%, that means that you can take out about £24,000 or dollars. Now, there are arguments in terms of whether actually 4% is a bit too much and that maybe you should be thinking about withdrawing 3%. So in that case, you will need about 33 times your annual expenses, but essentially it's pretty much the same method. So those are the two ways which you can use to find out if you are financially independent or not. And if you're liking this video so far, then feel free to give me a thumbs up, as it really does help to support the channel. Plus, I'm sure you know it's free. Okay, so now that we've got the definition of financial independence out of the way, let's talk about why I think it's important and why I think everyone should be working towards financial independence. And one of the biggest reasons why I think it's very, very important is mainly for financial security. Now, what I mean by this is if you are financially independent, meaning if you have investments paying for your lifestyle, so paying for your expenses, if anything happens to your main source of income, so let's say you have a job, for example, if anything happened to that, knowing that you are financially independent means that you're not going to have the stress of thinking about how you're going to pay bills. So because you will already have investments paying for your expenses, you will then no longer need to rely on your job to be able to pay bills. And I think this is especially important during not only this time, but if we think about, what happened in the past with the pandemic, there were so many people that got laid off so quickly. Like literally within the next day, your manager might be coming to you telling you, sorry, but we've had to make you redundant. And so that meant that many people were thinking about how are they going to pay their bills. And so that's why I think everyone should be working towards financial independence, because if you already have investments paying for your bills, it doesn't matter whether they make you redundant or not in your job, whether maybe they even give you a pay cut or anything like that. I personally think that knowing that your bills are going to be paid regardless will bring you a lot more peace. The other reason why I think it's really important is just the fact that financial independence will give you options. So that's a big reason why we are working towards financial independence. So what that means is that because again, you'll have investments paying for your lifestyle and paying for your expenses, you can then choose whether you want to work or not, or potentially you could choose what kind of work you want to do. So for example, let's say that maybe you are in a very high stressful job and it's not something that you think you would want to do over the next few years if you're maybe starting a family. Well, what financial independence will give you is the option to think about maybe going part-time or even quitting that type of job or industry altogether and focusing on your own thing. Having the option can be very powerful, because then you now start to focus on what you genuinely want to do. You're not going to be doing something because you have to pay bills. You're going to be doing something because you genuinely enjoy it, or you feel like you have some type of purpose tied to it, rather than just doing something because you have to pay for certain expenses. Now, you may have come across the FIRE movement, which means financial independence, retire early, which basically means that some people are working genuinely towards early retirement, where they want to become financially independent, but they may also want to kind of stop working. And it's very important to realize that just because you're financially independent doesn't mean you have to stop working. What it does is that it gives you the option not to work if you don't want to. But many people will continue to work. It's just that the main purpose for their work won't be to pay bills. It's going to be to actually do what they really want to do and do what they really enjoy. Now, the other reason why I think it's important to start working towards financial independence is because just starting on the journey will also help you immensely. And I'm talking from personal experience, because had I not started working towards financial independence, I probably wouldn't have paid off my debt. I would probably still be in thousands of pounds worth of debt, and I would probably still be living paycheck to paycheck as well. One of the biggest reasons why I decided to make a change with my finances and actually start doing something about it was because of the goal of financial independence. And I personally think that actually, if I didn't start working towards financial independence, I probably wouldn't have really cared about my finances that much, which meant that maybe once I had got married, we probably would have had a lot of problems when it comes to finances, because I would have just been spending so much money on just nonsense stuff, and that probably would have caused arguments, considering that my husband is very much a saver. So for me, not only is the destination of financial independence important, but the journey itself is equally important, because had I not decided to start working towards financial independence, I would not be in a financially secure position today. I would not have things like an emergency fund, savings, investments. I don't think I would have any of that, simply because I probably just wouldn't have really cared about my finances. I probably would have just coasted along thinking everything was okay, and then when it came to things like high inflation coming along, that's where it probably would have ruined me, to be honest, because then I would have had no idea how I was spending my money, and I think things just would have been an absolute mess. So even though you may not be at the destination yet when it comes to financial independence, that doesn't matter, because the journey itself can help you so much. Also, another point I wanted to mention is just the idea of taking back control, because especially when it comes to retirement, I personally don't think I want to rely on the government, because I had no idea what they're going to do over the next few years. And especially as a millennial, I just think that, state pensions might be very, very different by the time we get to 65. So for me, if I can take back an element of control where I can figure out how to pay for my own expenses, especially when I get to retirement age, I would rather prioritize that rather than thinking that the government is just going to help me. That's just a personal opinion, but that's one of the reasons why I do think financial independence is important. Okay, so now we've gone through why I think financial independence is important. Let's talk about some of the steps you can think about doing if you are interested in working towards financial independence. And one of my tips would be to start thinking about what financial independence would mean for you. And the reason why I say that first is because when I work with a lot of women, one of the biggest motivations is what their life could be like if they were financially independent. And once they figured that out, things start to change when it comes to their mindset around money, when it comes to how they view savings, investments, and how they even spend their money. So if you do think that maybe financial independence is something that you might want to start working towards, I would definitely take the time to figure out what that actually means. So not just the numbers in terms of, okay, well, how much do I need to become financially independent, but what would that mean for myself, my family, and my community? Does that mean I'm going to have more time to spend with my future family, with my children, for example? Does it mean that I'm going to be able to give back my time a lot more to my community? Really start to think about that, because again, that's going to give you the drive to keep going, especially when things get tough, because working towards financial independence might be quote unquote simple, but it's definitely not easy. Then of course, after that, that's when you want to figure out, well, what does that mean in numbers? So how much are you going to need to become financially independent? And again, it could be using the passive income route as I spoke about, or it could be using the withdrawal method. So think about how much you're going to need to become financially independent. Are your investments going to need to exceed £3,000 or dollars in order for you to become financially independent? Or are you going to need about £900,000 or dollars in order to take 4% each year to pay for your expenses? So just really think about the numbers in terms of what financial independence is going to be for you, because that's then going to help you think about your investment vehicle and how you want to get there. And of course, linked to that, the other step would then be thinking, okay, well, what's my vehicle going to be? So how am I going to become financially independent? So for example, with a lot of the women that I coach, we think about things like stock market investing. And then after that, they may also want to go into real estate and rent out properties. They may even want to start their own business. So really thinking about your investment vehicle will then help you figure out how much you now need to be investing in order for you to reach that goal. And so once you've done that, essentially what you might want to do is basically create a roadmap, thinking about how much you need to be investing, what type of things you're going to be investing in, and when you essentially want to reach financial independence. So once you now have that all together, what that means is that you pretty much know what you're working towards each year and each month, so that even if things happen around us, like the economy is changing, we have all of this high inflation, it doesn't necessarily stop you from working towards your goal. Yes, you may need to adapt. For example, you may need to think about making more money if things get more expensive, or you may not be able to save and invest as much whilst you're trying to increase your income, for example, but at least you still have a goal and it's still something that you're working towards. It's just that you might need to adapt how you do it, especially if seasons change. But it doesn't mean that you have to completely stop working towards that goal. Now, this may be quite difficult, especially because there's so much negative news going around, and you may be thinking, you know, is this something that I can still pursue? But I definitely think that there are still things that we can control ourselves. Even if the government is moving mad, if the central bank is moving crazy, there are still things that we can do. But I still think it's really important to be thinking about, because then you now still have a focus. So no matter what is going on around you, you still know that there is a goal that you are working towards. And even if there's a lot of negativity around you, you at least still know that that is your North Star goal. And there are still things that you can control and still do whilst you are on the journey. So I really encourage you to not let the news, the central bank, the government stop you from working towards financial independence. And I think your future self will definitely thank you for that. Now, if this has fired you up to want to work towards financial independence, but you're maybe a bit overwhelmed in terms of how you can get started, how to even create a roadmap, what to even invest in and things like that, then make sure you do check out my one-on-one coaching, because I've been able to help help women literally plan out their whole financial independence roadmap and understand how they can start working towards it, even as a total beginner. So if you are interested, you can book a free call to find out more. So I'll link more information up here for you and in the description below. So if you did like this video, then please do give me a thumbs up if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments, are you still thinking about working towards financial independence? Do you believe that you can become financially independent? I do post every Tuesday, so if you would like to know more, then of course you can subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys next week.